In the last lecture, I have said about stainless steel making in electric arc furnace. I have also said the different types of stainless steel which are to be manufactured for different applications. I have also said because of the limited availability of high quality stainless steel scrap, it has become important to use high carbon ferrochrome. Use of high carbon ferrochrome required to decarburize iron chromium melt, because most of the stainless steel applications, for most of the applications, they require carbon in a very low range. So, therefore, use of high carbon ferrochrome required the decarburization of iron chromium carbon containing melt. I have also said that decarburization in presence of chromium can only occur at very high temperature. If we blow oxygen until that high temperature reaches, chromium oxidizes in preference to carbon. I have also said at that time that we have to find out a temperature at which carbon oxidation begins in preference to chromium oxidation. In that connection, I had given you two equations, and those equations I have again written for you. That is the equation A. It tells the distribution of chromium and carbon as a function of temperature and partial pressure of carbon monoxide for iron, chromium and carbon melt. If the melt has nickel also, nickel increases the activity coefficient of carbon. So, therefore, another equation was proposed for decarburization of iron, chromium, carbon and nickel melt, and this equation is shown in B. Now, let us today illustrate the effect of temperature and partial pressure of carbon monoxide for two different melts. What I am doing, I will be taking the different temperature, I will be also taking different partial pressure of carbon monoxide to illustrate you the effect of temperature and partial pressure of carbon monoxide. Then I will take an example for iron, chromium and carbon melt, and I will also take an example of iron, chromium, carbon and a constant nickel, for example 10% nickel. Now, as regards the calculation procedure I have presented over here, I take temperature, then I have taken iron, chromium, carbon melt, and I will calculate the ratio of percentage chromium upon percentage carbon in melt. Next, I will calculate for the same temperature the ratio of weight percent chromium upon weight percent carbon in melt for iron, chromium, carbon and nickel. I am illustrating for a constant percent nickel, for example 10, you can calculate for example for 12 or 14 or whatever if the need arises. So, what I am doing, I am using the equations A and B for that calculation purposes. So, suppose I take temperature 1873 Kelvin, which is 1600 degree Celsius. I substitute that value and I put PCO is equal to 1 atmosphere, then I will be calculating this ratio as 25 and here this ratio is 36. If I take now a temperature 1973 Kelvin, which is equal to 1700 degree Celsius, then the ratio is 58 for iron, chromium, carbon melt and the ratio is 82 for iron, chromium, carbon and nickel melt. If I take a temperature now of 2073 Kelvin, which is 1800 degree Celsius, then the ratio becomes 128 and here 172. If I take the temperature 2173 Kelvin, which is equal to 1850 degree Celsius, the ratio becomes 240 and here it becomes 339. Now, mind you, these calculations are performed by taking partial pressure of CO that is equal to 1 atmosphere. What this calculation says? Increase in temperature increases the ratio of chromium to carbon in the melt, that I am going to write. Increase in temperature, increases percent chromium in metal upon percent carbon in metal. So, for example, if I take 1600 degrees Celsius as my temperature, then the ratio is only 25. If I take now 1850 degrees Celsius, the ratio is 240, which increases when nickel is there to 339. So, another is that for a given temperature, the ratio percent chromium upon percent carbon in melt, it increases with nickel content. The reason is obvious, because nickel increases the activity coefficient of carbon. So, now let me illustrate what is the effect of when we decrease partial pressure of carbon monoxide. Now, the same thing I take now partial pressure of carbon monoxide, say 0.25 atmosphere. Again I take here temperature, and the ratio of percentage chromium upon percentage carbon for iron, chromium and carbon melt, and percentage chromium upon percentage carbon in the melt for iron, chromium, carbon and nickel. Temperatures again I take 1873, 1973, 2073 and 2173. The ratio here is 89, 209, 460 and 863. Here 129, 295, 619 and 1220. So, you see, decrease in partial pressure of carbon monoxide from 1 atmosphere to 0.25 atmosphere, it increases the ratio of percentage chromium upon percentage carbon in the melt for all temperatures. Now, if I take for example, further I reduce the pressure, so I do PCO is equal to 0.1 atmosphere. So, these are for TCO is equal to 0.1 atmosphere, and I again calculate for all the 4 temperatures. Then the ratio becomes 207, 488, 1077 and 2019. Here it becomes 301, 690, 1447 and 2852. So, what this calculation indicates? This calculation indicates if we reduce the partial pressure of carbon monoxide, then the ratio of percent chromium upon percentage carbon, it increases drastically. If I take PCO is equal to 1 atmosphere, for example, if I take PCO is equal to 1 atmosphere at 2073 Kelvin, the ratio is 128. The same ratio becomes 460 when PCO is 0.25 atmosphere, and the same ratio becomes 1077 when PCO is equal to 1 atmosphere. That means, now by decreasing the partial pressure of carbon monoxide, I can increase this ratio. That means, I can allow now carbon reaction to proceed at much lower temperature. So, that is what the importance of temperature and partial pressure of carbon monoxide. So, what we gather or what the scientific calculation suggests us, that if you want to carry out decarbonization of iron, chromium, carbon, nickel melt at partial pressure of carbon monoxide is equal to 1 atmosphere, then the decarburization is only possible at a very high temperature. Now, this temperature can be reduced when you decrease the partial pressure of carbon monoxide. The extent of reduction of this temperature will depend upon the extent of reduction of the partial pressure of carbon monoxide. If you can lower down further the partial pressure of carbon monoxide, for example, you make stainless steel under vacuum and pressure is very low, then the decarburization can be carried out still at lower temperature. So, this is an important conclusion of this particular calculation as far as the effect of temperature and partial pressure of carbon monoxide is concerned. Now, another important thing in this particular case also, how to make now use of these calculations in the stainless steel making. So, let us see first of all melting of scrap in melting of stainless steel scrap in EAF in the light of knowledge that we have gathered previously. So, charge, it consists of SS scrap plus carbon steel scrap plus carbon steel scrap plus lime. Mind you, the melting of SS scrap in EAF is carried out at atmospheric pressure. So, PCO is that 1 atmospheric pressure. After charging, same meltdown, the charge is molten in the meltdown period, and at the meltdown period the bath contains, say for example 10% chromium, all nickel which you have charged plus carbon. Now, oxygen is blown into iron, chromium, nickel, carbon melt. Unless the temperature rises, the carbon oxidation does not begin, so a lot of chromium gets oxidized. Oxidation of chromium is exothermic reaction, temperature of the bath rises and then carbon also begin to decrease. So, initially chromium oxidizes until bath temperature rises to 1800 degrees Celsius. Above 1800 degrees Celsius, carbon begins to oxidize. So, what is important here is that higher chromium content at the end of meltdown stage will require higher temperature, as already we have seen in the calculation. So, what is important at the meltdown stage, that the chromium content, well, I should not say too low, but it should not be very high, because then you will be requiring very high temperature for carbon to oxidize. So, when this practice, when this has been attained, a decarburization has occurred, then in the finishing state balanced chromium is added, balanced chromium is added, as low carbon ferrochrome, and then the heat is finished, it is tapped and well cast and so on and so forth. Now, this particular technology was working for a long time, but there are certain limitations of this technology. So, limitations of this technology, the first limitation of this technology is use of low carbon ferrochrome, use of low carbon ferrochrome. Second effect, as a result of high temperature working in electric arc furnace, is at high temperature, damages the refractory lining. Third important point is this: a complete heat it takes about 8 hours from charging to finishing. We require stainless steel at a reasonable cost. These limitations or that technology using electric arc furnace made the stainless steel cost high. What is to be done? That is a challenge to the technologist, and these limitations that were imposed in electric arc furnace steel making paved the way to find out an alternative technology. The basis of alternative technology is one, to carry decarburization at low temperature. This is one particular challenge or one particular basis of development of a new technology, to carry decarburization at low temperature without oxidation of chromium. Second, as repeatedly I have said, low carbon ferrochrome is very expensive, and hence high carbon ferrochrome, if it can be used for production of a stainless steel containing high chromium, then it will be economical. So, the second challenge was use of high carbon ferrochrome. What is the scientific solution? The scientific solution is that if carbon is to be oxidized in preference to chromium at a given temperature, what we should do it? I have just told you the role of partial pressure of carbon monoxide. I have also illustrated what happens if I reduce the partial pressure of carbon monoxide. In the earlier calculation, I have shown you that reduction of partial pressure of carbon monoxide increases the ratio of chromium to carbon in the melt, and as a result I can produce a low carbon without causing oxidation of chromium. That is what the calculation we have seen. So, what is the solution? To oxidize carbon in preference to chromium, we must aim at the reduction of partial pressure of carbon monoxide below 1 atmosphere. For example, whatever you can reduce, you will gain in reduction in the temperature from 1 to 0.5 to 0.25 or 0.1, as we have seen in the calculation, then this is possible. Simple, we can also see, for example, if I write down the reaction 2C plus O2, that is equal to 2CO. 1 mole of oxygen, it produces 2 moles of CO. So, obviously decrease in pressure will favor carbon oxidation. In presence, for example, if I have 4/3 chromium plus O2, that is equal to 2/3 chromium oxide. I need not want to carry out the calculation, just I have to see both these equations, and if I see both these equations, in the equation 1 there is a effect of pressure, in the equation 2 there is no effect of pressure. So, by simple seeing the reaction, it is clear that if I decrease the partial pressure of carbon monoxide, then the carbon oxidation will be favored. So, solution. So, what is the solution now to those two challenges? The solution is reduction in partial pressure of carbon monoxide. Now, how this reduction of partial pressure of carbon monoxide can be done? Say it is easy, but then it is to be done, it is to be practiced, it is to be used, and then you have to produce stainless steel at the economic cost. That is the important, because that technology which is economical, which will work, otherwise that will lose its significance. How to reduce partial pressure of carbon monoxide? One way, you use vacuum, that is vacuum oxygen decarburization process. Very expensive to employ vacuum and then to carry out the stainless steel making. However, for very special quality, this process is being adopted. Another is that we use argon plus oxygen mixture. Imagine if I take now a mixture of argon and oxygen instead of pure oxygen, then argon will act as a diluent and will decrease the partial pressure of carbon monoxide. So, this particular process using argon and oxygen mixture has become very popular, and this process is known as AOD. A stands for argon, O stands for oxidation, and D stands for decarburization. So, the whole process is known argon oxygen decarburization process. Now, let us see what this process is. So, argon oxygen decarburization process. Now, in this process, the iron, chromium, carbon, nickel melt is prepared as usual in electric arc furnace. That means, this argon oxygen decarburization process works in combination with electric arc furnace. So, the input of this argon oxygen decarburization process is the output of electric arc furnace, and the output of electric arc furnace is a melt which contains iron, chromium, carbon, nickel melt is prepared in the electric arc furnace. Tapping temperature, is 1500 to 1600 degrees Celsius. Charged in AOD vessel. Here high carbon ferrochrome is used. High carbon ferrochrome is used to prepare stainless steel. So, typically I have shown AOD converter. So, it is again a pear shaped vessel lined with basic magnesite lining. Now, the important point in this AOD vessel that these vessels are side blown. On the side of the converter there are 4 to 6 or 8 tuyers are arranged, and a mixture of oxygen plus argon is blown into the vessel. Those heats which can tolerate nitrogen, then a mixture of oxygen and nitrogen can also be blown. But to start with, if those heats which cannot tolerate the nitrogen content in the steel, then you have to blow argon in order to reduce the partial pressure of carbon monoxide. So, how this is done? Iron, chromium, carbon, nickel melt from electric furnace is transferred to the AOD vessel, high carbon ferrochrome is added, and the blow begins with the blowing of argon and oxygen mixture. Now, typically in the beginning, oxygen is to argon ratio is kept 3:1. That is, in the beginning, until carbon reduces to around 30%. Now, since you are blowing along with the argon, so it is possible to carry out decarburization at a lower temperature also. Now, when carbon is reduced to 30%, then oxygen to argon ratio is decreased to 2:1. Now, you decrease the oxygen because you require less oxygen for the oxidation of carbon, and the bath is blown to 0.09 to 0.12% carbon. So, if you call this as a stage 1, this is stage 2, then in stage 3 the oxygen to argon ratio is 1:2 to bring carbon content of bath to the desired value, could be 0.02, 0.025 or whatever. So, this is the blowing schedule of a typical argon oxygen decarburization converter in order to produce stainless steel. The main point to understand over here is a mixture of argon and oxygen is blown, and that mixture does the job of removal of carbon at lower temperature. Now, major change in this practice has occurred in the last few years, that is, instead of argon, those heats which can tolerate little amount of nitrogen can also be blown. However, some degassing is also possible in the stage 3, some amount of nitrogen can also be removed. Some manifestation, say first stage blow, it generates heat, and coolants of the order of 5 to 10% of the coolants they are added. Stainless steel as a coolant is better. The cooling or the coolant addition is done during first stage when temperature rises to 1690 or 1700 degrees Celsius. When carbon has been removed, then ferrosilicon is added to recover lost chromium into slag back to the metal, because when a mixture of oxygen argon is blown, some amount of chromium will also be oxidized in the beginning, and that chromium SCr2O3 it collects in the slag. Now, the most important is decarburization. Let little amount of chromium, if it oxidizes, let it oxidize, because then it can be recovered by addition of ferrosilicon, and that is being done in the practice. When carbon has come down to the specification, then ferrosilicon is added to recover chromium oxide. Basicity of the bath is basicity of slag is maintained at around 1.5 to 2, and the reaction is Cr3O4 plus 2 silicon, that gives 3 Cr plus 2 SiO2. The chromium recovery, it may vary, but some figure like 97% chromium can be recovered from the slag back to the metal. Some sort of desulfurization can also be achieved. Desulfurization can also be achieved if the need arises. If very low nitrogen content in stainless steel required, then nitrogen blowing is not done. If little amount of nitrogen can be tolerated by stainless steel, then nitrogen blowing is being done. So, this is about the production of stainless steel by electric arc, by AOD and electric arc furnace. Now, this particular lecture concludes on modern steel making processes. Now, as a concluding remark, I have to say the following. In the coming years, the production of steel by electric arc furnace will grow. For very simple reason, if you compare with the route, coke oven, blast furnace and BOF, which is valid for integrated steel plant, the production of steel by electric arc furnace can be done at a very competitive price. So, in the years to come, the production of steel by electric arc furnace is bound to grow. That means, the developments in electric arc furnace will continue to grow in the following direction. The first development that we will see, use of ultra high power input. Use of ultra power input, say for example, up to 1500 kilovolt ampere per ton of power input is envisaged. Second development is improved furnace and equipment design features. Third, refining, combined burner technology for enhanced EAF performance through oxygen injection, carbon injection, or through natural gas burner injection. These are bound to come. So, for example, a 120 ton ultimate electric arc furnace is capable of increase in 50% capacity, roughly equivalent to 180 tons, by incorporating these above mentioned modern gadgets. Also, the developments will go on in using the furnace for different charge mixes, starting from 100% scrap to a combination of scrap, DRI, HBI and hot metal. Now, I will give you some key data of ultimate EAF installations. Say for example, I put here the some company, say Reveda Petro in Russia, that is one company. Then Aton Steel in Saudi Arabia and Riveda company in Russia. They have installed 3 most modern electric arc furnaces. Their specifications are as follows: 1, tapping weight in tons, it is 120, here it is 80, here it is 165. Furnace diameter, furnace diameter 7.7 meter, 6.5 meter and 8.6 meter. Transformer, please note the transformer capacity. Transformer, here it is 150 megavolt ampere, then this corresponds to 1250 kilovolt ampere per ton. This furnace is operating. Here it is 105 megavolt ampere, which correspond to 1313 kilovolt ampere per ton, and here it is 195 megavolt ampere, which correspond to 1182 kilovolt ampere per ton. So, you can see now some plants are already working with the modern gadgets having ultra high powered furnaces. Now, these ultra furnaces, they have injection tools. This company have 5 RCB, that is refining combined burner plus 2 burners, 4 post combustion system plus 4 carbon injectors. Appears to be the most modern furnace. This one is having 3 RCB plus 2 burners, 2 post combustion system, 2 carbon injectors, maybe because its capacity is low. Third one has 5 RCB, 3 burners. You know, the burners are used for meltdown period, natural gas and oxygen mixture, 4 post combustion systems and 4 carbon injectors. Now, what is the ultimate objective of employing these modern gadgets? The ultimate objective is to have a tap to tap time parallel to BOF steel making. You remember, a BOF steel making or a BOF converter taps 300 to 400 tons of steel in just a matter of 60 minutes, compared to electric arc furnace which use 1.5 to 2 hours. So, the whole idea of employing these gadgets is to make the electric arc furnace competitive with reference to tap to tap time, and these modern gadgets made possible. If I write now tap to tap time in all the cases is 36 minutes. 36 minutes. So, you can imagine where the electric arc furnace development will lead to. Ultimately, it will be parallel to BOF steel making. So, here are some questions, that is self assessment questions in BOF steel making. Question 1, what is the principle of steel making? Write the chemical reactions, as already I have said, you have to write down. Second, what are the essential requirements of LD steel melting shop? Briefly explain the logistics, I explained to you already. Third, describe the design features of a converter, explain the importance of working height in the converter, well you know already. Fourth, how oxygen is supplied to refine hot metal in LD converter. This is also been explained in the form of the jet, free jet and momentum flow rate and so on. Question number 5th, what are the functions of nozzle in the method of oxygen supply described in question 4. Nozzle, it converts a given flow rate of the jet into energetic supply, and I already described 4 or 5 functions that you have to bring it over here. 6, what is a gaseous jet? Briefly describe the behavior of jet when it is discharged in the surrounding of a cold air, hot air and slag metal emulsion. Here you have to bring the ratio of density of jet to density of surrounding. 7, what are the feed materials? That already I have said. 8, what is the mechanism of refining of hot metal in LD converter? You recall I have superimposed Lance profile with the physico-chemical interaction between the jet and bath. We can bring it over here. Question 9, explain the cause of increase in manganese. 10, what is sketch carbon practice? 11, discuss the mechanism of foams and emulsion formation in LD steel making. This is also I have already described. 12, what factors affect lining life? And 13, 14 and 15 they rather addresses, or these questions have been formulated to know what are the different technologies available for repairing of the lining. The questions of electric arc furnace steel making, well, what is a foaming slag? Explain the formation of foaming slag, discuss. What is the role of oxygen lancing? Also discuss. What is an oxy-fuel burner? You know, oxy-fuel burner is used in the meltdown period to increase the rate of melting and to attain quick flake bath condition. Explain how the metallurgical quality of DRI and HBI affects electrical power consumption EF. I have discussed, I have calculated some values also. An EF is operating with 100% scrap. What modifications would it be required to use chemical energy? The modification would be either you inject carbon or you inject oxygen, because for utilizing chemical energy you have to have chemical reaction. What is the equivalent carbon in DR and what is its significance? Already I have calculated the carbon content in DRI and stoichiometric, all these things you have to bring over here. Question 7, what are the requirements of injection of oxygen for decarburization and post combustion in EAF steel making? Discuss. Calculate the amount of CO and oxygen required generating chemical energy 30 kilowatt hour per ton of steel. You have to write down the reaction CO plus half O2 is equal to CO2, find out the heat of formation and make it equivalent to 30 kilowatt hour per ton, so that you can calculate how much amount of CO will be required. Discuss the mechanism of foaming, explain the physico-chemical principles of stainless steel manufacture, this I have discussed right now. Discuss the importance of carbon boil, how do we promote the carbon boil? By injecting carbon, also things have been discussed. Name the sources of CO and hydrogen generation in EAF steel making. Now these are the references which you can consult. The lecture has been prepared from these references plus these references